Oh, wow. Hello, Internet Land. So, here we are. We have a new Codex coming out for Marines and for Necrons this Saturday. It's supposed to be October, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'll be honest. So here's the thing. Let me click over there. Heinrich G, what's going on? Commodore and Tina Raven. Good evening, all. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Greg, Necrons. Yeah. So here's the thing. I just printed this out, which is the 30-page. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people are doing October. I'm going to get into that because this is part of my whole thing. I have a lot of orcs to do, and I have orc stuff I want to do. All right, let's just start off with let's start off talking about the news first, because the news are going to inform about what I have on the bench. So here's the thing. October's here. And a lot of 40K people, a lot of 40K channels are doing big things for October. I have an orc army that's about half painted, completely built and half painted. And we just got the first codexes. The first two codexes are dropping on Saturday, but this week we got a massive bunch of FAQs. And wow, I have a lot of thoughts. Hello, Phoenix. Okay, so first off, for the Marines, yay, Marines got new Codex stuff. It's all coming, all happy. And for those of us that are not Codex compliant, like my Space Wolves, we got, well, I don't know what the other guys did because I don't play Blood Angels. I didn't really look. I don't play Dark Angels. I play Wolves. The Wolves got a freaking 30-page index. And the first thing of that index, they make it patently clear. Chuck your 8th edition Codex. Chuck your Psychic Awakening book. Neither of them are valid anymore. Now, I know we're getting a new Codex soon, and that's fine. But it got me thinking. So I went and looked at the Black Templars, and I noticed some other notes. And gee, you hit it right on the nose. There was the first Psychic Awakening book was the Elves. Elves and Dark Elves. That book's fine. The second book was The Blood Angels and the Tyranids, and that book came out in November or December. Somewhere in there. It's either late November or early December. So they got that. January, the Ritual of the Damned came out, which was Dark Angels, Grey Knights, and Thousand Suns. And yeah, that's exactly it. And that's where I'm kind of getting upset about it, because then February rolls around and the Greater Good drops. Cool. March comes around, we get Legacy of the Beast, or Saga, whatever. Saga of the Beast. Saga of the Wolf, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The book's invalid now for anything Space Marine. Yeah, I can use it for my orcs, but it's completely invalid for my wolves. It came out in March. COVID hit hard in March. Then they dropped all the other books. Well, all the Marine portions of the books are completely invalid. And they said point blank in the instructions, everything from those books is no longer valid. They're not to be used. You use the main rule book that's coming out on Saturday, and then each of the individual armies will be getting their own codex. Their own codex supplement. So the Dark Angels, except for the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights aren't really getting anything yet. Well, they haven't announced anything from them yet. So the Dark Angels may have gotten to play with their stuff for like a month, maybe 2. The Blood Angels got to play with their stuff for like a month, 3. I got my wolf stuff, and then no, there's no more playing. Okay. So why did I buy this book again? And I understand that's not GW's fault. You thought the Index Sigma were just combining the PA old Codex deck. No. No. This 30-page document is new rules as according to what we've seen for leaks on the new Space Marine book. And it specifically says in this text, the 2018 Codex and the Space Wolf section of the Psychic Awakening are invalid now. Now, again, the Codex part, COVID isn't their fault. So it's not their fault that we didn't get to play with this stuff for 6 months. But the fact that they released a book knowing in 6 months it was not going to be valid, why bother? That is the core of what's bothering me. Let's just say COVID didn't happen. Let's pretend COVID didn't happen. Okay, so they released a book. And now 6 months later, it's not valid. The book that they just released 6 months ago is no longer good, cannot be used. And the replacement book for it is going to be later this year. We got October, November, December. So sometime later this year, the problem is, and this is the thing, the Codex is last. The Codexes are fine, but it's these secondary books. It's these secondary books that are the problem, because they produce these secondary books at the end of a edition. They did this in 7th edition too. But when 8th edition came around, they had updates so those books are still usable. They didn't do that. I have an 8th edition index or 9th edition index for my wolves that say Everything in the old Codex is bunk. Everything in the Psychic Awakening is no longer usable. And it took stuff away. Now, admittedly, it made some of my other units better. I mean, I got 2 wounds on a bunch of my guys. My Thunderwolf Cavalry can advance and still charge, which is great. I mean, there is some give and take there as far as what they can do. And yes, I have a Codex coming. But that's just another book to buy. In the meantime, if I want to play my wolves, I don't have my sagas. My sagas are gone. They don't exist. I have to take a leadership. If I play my wolves, I have to play I have to give them a warlord trait. My warlord trait is one selected from the Space Marines book. And I haven't seen him yet, but the one they said, if I have a character, I have to take a very specific one. So all the characters, all the named characters, all the named character warlords that can be named as warlord, until I get my Wolf Codex, they all have the same warlord trait. I don't know what that is yet. I haven't seen that part of the new book. But I mean, I have my sagas. My traits, I don't have, I mean, it's not much, but it still kind of bugs me. And I'm going to have to deal with the fact that there are going to be some other Marines players that are going to probably look at me side-eyed. And I'm going to be honest with you. They have kind of a right to. When Assault Intercessors came out, I was like, that's cool. You guys are now going to have Primaris Blood Claws. That's cool. And then they said all Marines are getting 2 wounds. Okay. And I still get Blood Claws. So I get the same thing as Assault Intercessors, except I can take them in squads of up to 15 if I want. And for every 5 guys, I can stick a special weapon in there. So I can have the leader with a plasma gun and, a power fist. I can have the rest of them with their chain swords, which have the same stats. And 2 or 3 of them have meltas. That's pretty good. And they're cheaper. They cost less than a intercessor with the new points updates. Okay. Or I can take Grey Hunters, which are the same thing. They now have 2 wounds. So they have 2 wounds and a chainsword, which is a -1 AP. The chainswords are chainswords. Oh, but these guys actually can get guns. So I can use them at range and run them into combat. I don't have to use pistols. And if I use those guys, I can put a banner on them that I get to re-roll charges. Or roll 3 dice and pick 2, something like that. They've got a bonus to charges. Might even be just a straight plus. I don't mind it. But, okay, so the Marines are going to be really good. I mean, looking at the updates, Marines are going to be good. Wolves are going to be great. I'm kind of on the fence until I get the book or when we actually get our Wolf book, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't have all the information on yet, but it should be fine. That's fine. But then there's the other problem. They changed a lot of melee weapons to make them different from each other, and that's cool. Used to be a Power Fist and a Thunder Hammer were the same weapon. The difference is that the Thunder Hammer did a straight 3 and the Power Fist did a D3. Instead, they both have a static damage. Hammers do less damage, but have more AP. Hammers do more damage, have less AP, and they've gone down in cost. Again, I'm cool. And they took the additional cost off, so it doesn't matter if it's on a character or on a thing again. So that's, again, cool. I'm good with that. And they put chain fists in, and now chain fists have another thing that they do. Apparently, they do double damage versus vehicles, or they get extra AP versus vehicles. They get some bonus against vehicles. Again, this is cool. They did this thing with flamers. Flamers got bonuses. They did this thing to Meltas. Meltas got some kind of bonus. There's all kinds of really cool things they did to the Marines. And they put this text in there that other pieces of equipment with the same name in other armies do the same thing. So I'm like, okay, so my guys that got, my Imperial Guard that got flamers, the flamers got the boost. The guys in the Imperial Guard that got Meltas, they got the boost. Heavy bolters, all that stuff's great. Okay, that's really cool, except that's all Imperium. So they went and they updated all these other armies. So the Tau got a couple weapons, one that's kind of Melta-like that they updated so it follows Melta rules. There's a Tau weapon that's kind of Flamer-like, I guess, and they basically turn it into Meltas. And the reason I'm getting this, because they did a little bit for every army, but they didn't do it for every army. Some of the armies that got really screwed by this, Thousand Suns, they're Flamers, they're Warp Flamers, which are the same damn thing as far as I can tell. They just have an extra AP. They're still the short-range stuff. The Death Guard Spitters, which are Flamers that are plague weapons, but they're not. They're throwing goo, not flames. And they still got their short and range. Okay, whatever. That's fine. They've got their plague weapons. So I guess I'm okay with it. That's fine. Whatever. A lot of people got little updates here and there. That's cool. But this brings me back around to where I started at, was my orcs. A big shooter is not a heavy bolter, but they're the equivalent. The cost for a big shooter and a heavy bolter is the same. The big shooter is still using its 8th edition rules and its 8th edition stats. It was not updated for 9th edition. Heavy bolters were. Okay. Scorches and Burnas did not get updated. As a matter of fact, nothing on the orcs got updated. I think one thing may have got updated, but for the most part, nothing got updated. So the orcs are in a bad situation with an old codex to begin with. Half of their old stratagems don't work anymore. Everything is overpriced for what they are because they're not an elite army. They're a horde army. But because of the way they have to pay for their stuff, they're an overpriced horde army. So people are trying to play them as a more elite army, playing a lot more vehicles, and they're having some success. But now looking at what's going to happen with the Marines, the orcs are going to die in droves, and they're not going to be able to handle what is going on with other armies. And I'm going to be honest, seeing that the orcs were basically completely ignored when every other Xeno army at least got something, got a little bit of an update. True, Commodore, but they also didn't do anything to Scorches either, which also are a flame-like weapon. They didn't affect Scorches, they didn't affect Burnas. They didn't do anything for the orcs. And that's the thing. So the orcs are paying 9th edition points for their gear, but they're using 8th edition rules, which are, the weapons are much different. So the weapons are weaker, less AP, non-static damage, lots of problems. And we have no word on the Codex. I have a quick question from a child next to me. What? Okay. You know how to make that?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I get?
I have 100 of your favors.
Go make it. You have 100-degree fever? Okay. That's not good. And it's 2 people in my household with a fever. Luckily, nobody's having breathing problems. All right. Yeah. And that's the thing. I know this is normal during a new edition coming out. I remember hearing about what happened when 7th went to 8th, that the Death Guard and the Ultramarines, when things first came out, they were top boys and nobody could even hang with the 2 of them when the editions first came out. And then as things came out, things came back in. And I get that. I honestly, I understand that. It's the frustration level, and this is, again, salt. But the real thing behind it, where the aggravation comes about it, is not so much that this is normal for an edition. We had 6 months of really not being able to play, where they were introducing an entire series of books that were nothing but new rules, and all these new rules are going away. They're not being used. So basically, we had 6 months of $40 books that are going to sit on the shelf and do nothing. That pisses me off. That really aggravates the holy crap out of me. And then you add on to it, when they went and did the updates, they just basically did Control F and looking for the next copy of the word to update it, rather than looking at what weapons are equivalent and looking at stats and looking at how they play. And so there are some armies, like unfortunately Orcs, that are paying 9th edition points for 8th edition weapons and 9th edition points for dudes with 8th edition stats. And I will be honest, that in and of itself, I want to build this battle wagon that I have the parts put together for, and I'm like, I've got all the parts set aside for. I want to build that for October. But I had a big box of Orc figures that I pulled out, like, I'm going to get these guys painted. And until I know that Codex is on the rise, I haven't, or they do a big FAQ like they did, or a big index update like they did for the Wolves, where they update all their crap. Until they do that for the Orcs, I don't want to play my Orcs. Because I will be honest, one of the big things in my Orcs, one of my core units, because I'm not playing Hordish, I'm playing Elite, is a group of Burnas and a group of Ludas, both in a truck. I mean, when I look at 2 of the core, and right now, if you look at what's being played for the Orcs, that's one of the main ways a lot of people are playing Orcs right now. Those units are problematic. And it comes down to my mind is that it's just GW. Yeah, maybe it's business as normal for them. But with 6 months of not being able to play because everything was locked down, to have an entire series of books just be, you paid for them, you may have played a couple games and they were now worthless. Just worthless. It's a bit maddening. And Marines are getting so much stuff. And I'm trying not to be salty because Marines are getting tons of stuff. And one of my main armies is Marines. But that's one of my armies. My Imperial Guard are in a really bad place right now. I'm trying to figure out a way to play them. And I've been going over different scenarios and different army lists and doing Math Hammer with them. And my Imperial Guard right now, the only viable lists I have found from playing Imperial Guard are not a style of Imperial Guard I really want to play. I really wanted to start Tau next year as my army, my 2021 New Year, New Army. And that's the thing, Ben. I will play for fun. I will play for fun. That's not the thing. I'll play for fun. The problem is the armies I have that are playable are freaking overpowered, and that's where the other half of my problem is. The armies I have that I think are playable right now, that are honestly playable right now, yeah, maybe I do. That is a good point, Ben. Maybe I do. Maybe I talk about viable lists and I overthink it. Maybe I do. And that, I can't say you're completely wrong there, Ben. I mean, and that's my mind at work with it. But part of my mindset is I want to make sure the person I'm playing with is having fun too. And that's the problem. I don't even try to. I'm not trying to make power lists. I took what I thought was a silly list when I played against Ben the first time I played against Ben with my Custodes. I took 5 dudes. I didn't even take the best dudes. I just took 5 dudes. Like, let's just do this. That's 25 power level. And so... And I don't, and that's the problem. I don't try to. I really don't. I'm not... and that really does come down to it. I'm not trying to power level. I'm not trying to power game. I just want to play games. And was it fun, Ben? Because I'll be honest, I walked away from that game feeling bad because it didn't seem like you had any fun with that game. Just being honest, because I love you, man. I walked away from that game thinking, it didn't seem like that was fun. And I want to play fun games. But the problem is, yeah, I know. I just... Even when I'm not trying to be competitive, there is a small part in the back of my brain that is always going to be competitive. And I take units that are not competitive. I'm told they're not competitive, and I seem to make them work. I mean, I get told, for the longest time, I was told Death Guard aren't competitive. Death Guard aren't competitive. And I won a lot of games with Death Guard. And I wasn't trying to build power lists. But I was building what I saw as natural synergies. And that's the problem, is that right now, because I was building on synergies and because I was building that stuff, I think I'm going to play Sigmar for a little bit, because right now, Space Marines with this new Codex coming out are going to be super powerful. Now, there's a couple Marines players in my meta, and that'll be great. I'd love to play against some Marines units. But the flip side is, one of the guys we play with is Tau, and he's a good guy, and I love talking with him. He's a great conversationalist. Yeah, and I'm with you on that one. I was playing a guy that I really like. I really like him a lot. I think he's a really cool guy. And I had a lot of fun talking with him. And at the end of round 1, I almost tabled him. And I wasn't trying a power game. I flipped down 1,000 points of dudes, and and then I have a friend of mine who a lot of people here know is a competitive player. And he looks at my lists and he keeps saying, "Oh, that's not any good. That's not any good. That's not any good. I'd kick that, blah, blah." And I'm like, "No, I got to play you, guy, because I want to play you. I want you to bring a list. I want you to bring one of your hardcore lists and play, because I'll be damned if everything you say doesn't work. It's worked for me so far." My man Kaiser, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, I really want to play him. I mean, I really want to play him, Ben, just to find out, am I really just out of my league there, or am I seeing things that he's not? Because he said stuff, I'm like, but I don't know. It works, man. I've been doing this. So it's just funny. I want to get together and play with him. And that's the thing. I guess just because I look at the way. Oh, there's a number of. Honestly, right now, Orcs are in a bad place. They weren't until now. Up to now, they were pretty good. 9th edition been doing good. With this new Codex coming down from the Marines and the numbers and the stats I'm seeing, man, Orcs. I mean, Orcs are kind of got the shaft. And Grey Knights. No, I'm mad about Grey Knights. I don't play Grey Knights. I hate Grey Knights. I'm mad. I am mad for Grey Knights. Why did they not get a second one? Why did everyone else get 2 wounds and the Grey Knights didn't even get a freaking Codex announced for them, so they're not getting their shit till next year. Yeah, they're getting all their stuff in their new Codex next year. That's bullshit. And that's what I was getting at. That really is what I'm going at. I honestly think, instead of pushing, just shoving 5 to 6 new Astartes models down our throat every 2 weeks, why not get in a fast track and get codexes out? Put out 2 codexes a week, every week, until everybody has their new codex. It's not like they're not already written. We know GW already has them written. They have them written. They have them planned. We've already seen models that are going to be in these new codexes. We've already seen them. So let's just get it going. Let's just say, you know what? I know models make money, so fine. Release 2 models a week, but release 2 codexes a week too. It makes me mad. It's aggravating. It's a freaking aggravating, and it's demoralizing, because I now understand the plight of the Xenos players over the last 3 years. I've never really been a Xenos player. I've never played Xenos before. This was my first foray into Xenos. And I'm 6 months into my Orc army, or let's see, it's October. So I'm 7 months into my first real Xenos army, and I'm already seeing GW going, no, don't worry about it. Our Marines, the Marines need stuff. No, you're fine. The Marines need this. No, you're fine. The Marines need. It's just funny, and I'm just generally complaining because I'm complaining about GW, because, and again, I want to preface this all. This isn't entirely their fault. It really isn't. This COVID kind of screwed the pooch. So all these great lists and all these great figures and all these great stratagems and all these great stuff isn't usable. All this great stuff that I just got and I haven't been able to play yet, I can't play because it's not valid. Well, crap. So I'm gonna build this battle wagon this custom battle wagon for my orcs for October. I will be working on that. I think I'm still gonna do my sprue terrain, my orcish terrain, because I like that terrain and it'd be good for a battlefield. So I'm gonna still do that. But rather than working on my orc army, I think I'm gonna focus more on my Age of Sigmar stuff for painting, for personal painting, that is. I've got 6 more Stormcast to paint, and then I'm done with Stormcast. Done. 6 dudes, and I'm done with Stormcast. And then I've got an entire Slaanesh half of what is it? Fury and whatever, the box set, the Khorne Slaanesh box set. 500 points? I can do 500. I can do 500 points. If I don't have 1,000 points of an army painted, I don't consider having that army. That's just me. I have 500 points of Stormcast ready to go, just like that. I got them. They're right there. 500 points. I want to find out how much Slaaneshi stuff I have, because I want to play a 2. I have an idea for a paint scheme. I have an idea for a basing scheme that I think is going to be awesome, but I don't know how many points they are. Right, I have right there, so I have to look at that figures and see what I have there, because I like the Slaaneshi demons. I like demons. They're just nasty. Oh, I dig it. So. But yeah, I think I'm going to focus on playing Age of Sigmar for the next couple of weeks, at least in a month or 2. Maybe just until I get my my wolf codex in, so I can actually play my wolves. I've got a half a box of. I've got about half my Indominus box left to paint, and I'm not motivated to paint them right now. I don't know. I kind of want to build vehicles. I want to build vehicles in terrain. So, it is what it is. I think all my gaming is in a weird space right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that just there's not a good place to play right now. I mean, the place we play on Saturdays is not bad. I'm not complaining. That's actually a pretty good place. I like playing there. I really do. I don't like having to carry all my crap around, but that's cool. I'm grumpy. I'm just a grumpy guy at heart, I guess. I want to be able to go someplace down and play, or have people over and play at my house. And right now, because I don't have anything set up really, I can't really have more than like one person at a time over the house to play. Yeah, no, there is. And I'm actually talking to Commodore about that. I'm actually talking to Commodore about that. Commodore and I will be playing a game later this month here. We're going to play 2,000 points. We were originally going to play his Imperial Fists versus my orcs. And that's not incorrect, Phoenix. That might be part of it too. That really might be part of it. I guess I'm just kind of stir crazy. I'm kind of, yeah, I know. Yeah, and that's the other thing is that right now I got 2 people that apparently are sick, and it's not. We're gonna find out if it's COVID, but I don't think it's COVID, but. Hey, Zane. Yeah, honestly, that is the thing. I think a lot of it is just going stir crazy. I don't know. I was really, really, really excited for 9th edition. I really was. I really, really was just hype as crap for 9th edition. And I don't know. I don't want to say I'm burnt down on it because I'm not burnt down on it, but I'm just kind of like, I kind of want to just take a little bit of a break from it and play something else for a bit, just to do something else. I mean, I think Age of Sigmar. Yeah, and the Codex is this weekend, and that's a big thing. I'm sure Space Marines and Necrons will be great once this weekend is live. I think they'll be just fine. We're gonna see. Well, at least you also have your Dark Angels, don't you, Ben? And the Dark Angels Codex is supposed to be coming out later this year. But I hear you. That Grey Knights thing, they were really good, and then they were really bad, and then they were suddenly good again, and then they're in COVID. And that's the damn thing with my Wolves, too. They were not good. They were not good for a big part of 8th. And then Saga of the Beast came up like, they're great, and now I can't play, and now I want to play, and I can't play my Wolves, and now they're being changed again, and then... I think in the end, this is mainly just a complaint about freaking COVID. I'm not over it in such the way that, oh, just screw it. I'm going to wear a mask, go out, be stupid, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. COVID is real. COVID's a big deal. We need to be smart about it. But that reptilian brain in the back of my mind is going, oh my God, I am over this. I am so over this. Maybe I'll paint my freaking Rough Riders for my Imperial Guard. I don't know. Oh, it's just damn aggravating. I don't know. I think the game's in a fine place personally. I'm just frustrated. I don't know. I'm just, and I can't even, and that's a funny thing. Ben, you make good points. Commodore, you make good points. Everybody's making really good points. And maybe part of it's just me whining because I want to hear myself whine. And it's because I'm in this cycle of, I just want to play. I want to do this. That's really powerful. I just want to play. Yeah. I don't want to play my Custodes. I want to play my Custodes, but I don't want to play my Custodes. I want to play them, but I really don't want to play them. I saw them do things to somebody that make me regret a lot of decisions I've made in my life because it was mean. And I'm not a mean person. Well, and that's the thing. Honestly, Kaiser, the truth is that I'm not chasing the meta. I have armies I like. I'm playing the armies I like. Don't get me wrong. I'm playing the armies I like. I like Imperial Guard because I like making my Imperial Guard play like the army. Like I was in the army. I want them to play like they're in the army. And who knows? Maybe with these weapons changes, they will play that way. Maybe they will. You know, that's a thought. And maybe most of my complaining is just because I'm listening to a couple voices more than I should be. There's a lot of honest truth that I can admit to there. There are certain voices I listen to. Now, as far as nobody has to play, Yeah, you know, that's the thing. And I don't mind the narrative stuff. I really don't mind the narrative stuff. And like I said, but I'm not chasing the meta. I'm really not, because that's not who I am. I'm not in that competitive mode yet. I'm not in that competitive scene yet. So I'm not chasing any meta. How do I put this? I'm seeing both sides of it. You know? Yeah, build a theme. And that's what I've done so far. Unfortunately, that's what I've done with some of my army, like with my Imperial Guard, that's what I did. To my wolves, I just built everything and got my hands on it. If I can get my hands on it, it got built. There are units I really want for my wolves. That's the really funny thing. There are still units I want for my wolves that I haven't got yet. There are units for my Space Marines. I mean, not my Space Marines, my Plague Marines I want, because I don't have all the different layouts I want, just because I want to try them with different guns and different layouts and different play styles. I love, and this all comes from the point that I do love 40K. I really do love 40K. I love that game. I love the way the game is. And I do like the fact that it changes up. I actually do. It's the frustration comes down from the fact that I don't think what they're doing right now is fair. And unfortunately, I'm playing the armies. 3 of my armies are literally the guys that are benefiting the most from the fact that they haven't updated everybody yet. So it's just like, my main 3 armies, 2 of which were considered weak armies, so far in this edition are grossly overpowered. And it's just like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, but I built on a theme. Like you talk about building to a theme. Unfortunately, in this edition, the theme I built on with my Space Wolves is mean in this edition. Because I built them to go, I'm going to put so many bodies with chainswords on you, it's going to make it cry. Well, now they gave all those guys 2 wounds, and the chainswords now have -1 AP. Holy crap. I'm now going to be putting choppering, you know? That's not cool. When am I using them? I got to get with Freak because I have some things that weren't coming up. I'm trying to get, there's a couple technical things I can't get with the overlays to work. And I got to talk to Freak about how to get them, or get with you at some point when I'm not in the middle of all this other stuff. That's the other thing. I've been working so much lately. It's just been like, oh. Unfortunately, everyone else I play with is already in the midst of 9th Kaiser. That's the other big problem. All the people I play with, all the people you're seeing in this channel are all people, most people in this channel are people I play actively with. And we're all playing 9th already. And can't really go back to 8th. And just the reality of what it is. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And like I said, the big thing I think I see is that maybe I need to just take a step away from 40K and focus on the Age of Sigmar, where the rules are static for a little bit of time, just until everything kind of settles. Yeah, and see, that's the thing, Ben. I've played a 1,000-point game, a 2,000-point game, and a bunch of 500-point games. And I mean, I've played quite a bit of 9th so far. And even when I'm not trying to play cheese, it's been cheesy. So, like I said, maybe I need to just take a step away from 40K, unless I can play Mr. Tick. Maybe take a step away from 40K for a bit, let things kind of round themselves out, and focus on Age of Sigmar. Because I have no idea what meta is there. I don't really understand the game other than these dice get rolled and these numbers and blah. I really don't. I don't. The rules are weird to me because the units look different and the build is weird and they use terminology that just blah. I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to understand the whole battle line, non-battle line. What the different dudes make different armies, and I'm confused. So I'm gonna like this weekend. I'm really gonna probably focus on just playing my Stormcast. I'm gonna get those last 6 guys painted up this week and focus on Stormcast. And I'm gonna work on my Daemonettes and my Slaaneshi guys and get them painted up. I have a really great idea for basing that involves making those of you might remember back in grade school or at some point in like junior high or high school, depending on where you are in the States. I don't know about y'all guys. I had to make at one point in junior high, we had to make what they called lino stamps, which are basically linoleum that you use carving tools to carve parts out. You basically draw on them, and then you carve parts out, and then you roll ink on them, and you can stamp them. And they make these really cool looking kind of stamps. I'm basically making a lino stamp, and I'm going to show people how to make it, but using PVC, and then make a stamp that you can punch into green stuff or epoxy putty with for doing basing and putting texture in basing and how to make them that way. So I'm doing a Slaaneshi corruption field with them. So that's my plan there. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think I'm going to focus, instead of Orktober, I'm going to focus more on Halloween. And so there'll be a lot more horror themed stuff with the Orktober stuff. Like I said, I'm still doing the orc terrain, and I'm going to work on that orc, vehicle that I want to finish off. But I think I'm just frustrated with COVID. Honestly, it just keeps coming back to me, just being frustrated with the whole COVID scene right now. And it's I don't want to be whiny about it, but it's just one of those, I get it. I am not saying we should break protocols. That's not what I'm saying. I want to be clear. I am not saying that. Like I said, it's that little reptilian brain in the back of my head going, oh my God, I need to get out of here. I work, and where I work is under quarantine. So 95% of the people that work where I work, they're working remotely. I can't do that 100%. I only recently was given permission to work remotely. Because of the nature of why I work is I have to be in the office. And I got to tell you, when you come into a building complex, and I mean, where I work is a complex of like a half dozen office buildings and an industrial building and a chemistry science building, because I work for a chemical company. And there's all these, this complex of buildings. And I drive in there, and between me driving in the front gate past 2 security guards at the front gate and getting to my building, I think I see 5 people, including those 2 guards, in the entirety of my day. Those 2 security guards, the cleaning lady I see every day, the mailroom person I see every day, and then some days I might see one of the people coming in and out of the office. That is it. I work on the 5th floor of a gigantic office building, and I'm one of, from what I can tell by the cars in the parking lot, I am one of maybe a dozen people in that building. But if I see one of them during a day, That's been a lot. I go days without seeing anybody else. And that's the thing, Ben. I don't know if you've been able to tell this about me when I've been around. I'm a people person. I like people. I hate people, but I like people. I don't know if that makes any sense. I like to be around people. I like to interact with people. I like to be able to walk away from them when I don't want to be around them anymore. But until I have to be, until I get to that point, I like being around them. And there is nobody in that building. It is just empty. It kind of wears on me after a bit, I'll be honest. You know, there are more people that come in and out of my house that I probably see at work. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's just a weird situation. And I think a lot of that, you know, and I don't want to dismiss anything anybody is saying because I agree with a lot of what you're saying when I think about it intellectually and logically rather than looking at it emotionally. You're right. I could just, you know, just play for fun, just play what I do. You know, and people are saying, well, all you do is build powerless. I really don't. I don't try to. I'm not trying to, guys. I'm really not. And yet, meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm going, I really need that impulsor so I can drop things in people's faces. Oh, God. Ben, if I get that freaking Aries, I will never be able to play Gaston. Oh, gosh. You know, I really want that Aries. I'm not going to lie. I am not going to lie. I am not going to lie, Ben. That Aries, if you're not familiar, go out to Forge World and look up the Custodes Aries gunship. If you haven't seen the Aries gunship, get the Aries gun. What am I pinning up next? Like I said, I got 5 Custodes. I mean, the 5 Sigmar guys left. Actually, I'm hoping when I get those 5 guys done, I'm going to do, because all the best army pieces are big dudes. They're gigantic guys with giant mashing hammers. I like the Stormcast. They're like an army of paladins. I love them. They're paladins I want to play. I'm going to beat you to death with this hammer and save you. So yeah, when I get those 6 guys painted, I mean, they are literally the next 6 things I'm painting. That is for certain. I'm going to get those last 6 guys painted up, and then I'm going to do a showcase for them. Yeah, you know, that'd be a thing. That Ares gunship is ridiculous. It's basically a flying knight plus. It's flipping ridiculous, which is why it sees competitive play. I would never play it with anybody that I like. I would never. I would be like, look at my cool aircraft. I'm going to put it down and play a different army because I don't want to play this against people I like because it's that damn mean. It's just wrong. The thing is wrong. It's freaking just messed up. Oh, no, dude. That's Commodore. If you're looking at that model, I want to point out to you that base that it's sitting on, that it's hanging over the sides of, that is as wide as a knight's base, except it's round. So it's a knight's base, both wide and long. It's 160 millimeter round base, and it's sticking out. So that thing is... That thing is like 300 centimeters across. 300 centimeters. That is, or 300 millimeters, 30 centimeters. That's 30 centimeters. That thing is massive. And I like big models. Hell, if I played Necrons, I can tell you right now, if I was playing Necrons, if I actually was committed to playing Necrons and had already like had an army that was going with them, there would be 2 models I'd have to have in that army just because I like gigantic models. I'd have to have the freaking Silent King, and I'd have to have a freaking they're flying, what is it, a monolith? Their freaking flying pyramid thing. Just looks bland to you. Commodore? That's heresy. If you like Custodes, that thing is like the most Custodes custody ever. Yeah, just the giant flying pyramid thing. I want one. If I ever actually play them, I want one of those things, and I want the Silent King because dude, when I got Death Guard sucked. I don't care. I want my freaking Primarch because he looks cool and he's gigantic. That's what I like. I like that. That's why I like Knights. They're big. I'm a big dude. I like that. Funny enough, I'm not like that for Sigmar. I'm looking at these new giants going, those are really cool. I don't want those. Yeah, the Tesseract fault with the Catan thing coming on in the middle of it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and like I said, that's the funny thing for Age of Sigmar. Those giants are massive. I have no interest in the giants at all. That's weird. I look at these gigantic things and go, no. Now the Star Drake, yeah, I want that. I want the Star Drake with the Celestian General or whatever the hell he's called on there thing. I want that thing. That thing's gorgeous. The giant, it's basically, here's my army, one figure. I don't want to play that. I don't want to play that. Not in a fantasy game. That seems kind of meh to me. Not my interest. Although I did have somebody say, it'd be funny because one of the biggest giants, one of his things is he's got a bag filled with people in it. And they're saying it'd just be funny to see him punch Nagash in the face with a bag of people. That's kind of a funny, in my mind, that's kind of a funny scene. That's kind of funny. It's kind of wrong, but it's kind of funny. I mean, I can show you. For my Stormcast, my main 2 mounted generals, I've got the mage on the Griffin thing, and then I have the big hammer dude, Knight Celestant, I think he's called, on the dragon Dracolith, I think it's called. So I've got those. I mean, and that's the thing. So it's and my paint scheme's kind of simple. It's silver and purple. Yeah, it's silver and purple, with the purple brushed with highlights in gold. And for whatever reason, my dragon is actually, you can't see it in the slide, my dragon's actually a very reptilian green underneath there. And that's the other thing I always use for the highlight color, for the secondary color for them. I use, as you can see by the combs on the back of their helmets, I use a very bright green. So I mean that's the way I built them that way and painted them that way, not knowing anything about what colors for their armies meant. You know, saying there's something to be said for that. But when I built these guys, I didn't know anything about the colors. I didn't own the book. I just had the figures. We just kind of read over the rules a little bit. And I just went, you know what? I just want to paint these guys. Like, we got them because Lady D wanted the undead. And originally, this is where the whole joke about me stealing the Stormcast came from. Because originally, I really wasn't going to get into the Stormcast. Originally, I was going to do the Caradron Overlords. Because the idea was to do one order, one chaos, one destruction, and one death army for each of us. And I just, the more and more I had just done like 1,000 points of Death Guard and like 1,500 points of Space Wolves to finish out the end of 2019. And I just needed a palette cleanser. So I painted up this guy. So this was actually the first of the Stormcast I built. And after building and painting him, or I think it's actually a her. No, it is a him. After building and painting him, I was like, you know, they're not so bad. And that's what led to me building the rest of the Stormcast and then getting the original box set that we got for a good deal, and then built and painted that half. And I've gotten a few other figures since then. And I don't get me wrong, I like the Stormcast. I really do. I think they're going to be fun to play. I think they'll be great. I love the look of them. I love the way they look. They're just gorgeous, gorgeous models. So, and that'll be fine. You know, I think that'll be just fine for playing. And I think me not knowing what the synergies really are, or what the tactics are, or what the crusher units are, or any of that, I think that'll work out for me a little better, because I have no illusions about playing these guys competitively, because to me this whole game just seems kind of weird, and I just want to be able to play it. So I like the look of these guys, so I'm going to play them. And maybe it's that lack of understanding. Yeah, exactly, Ben. And that's exactly it. And I think that was the whole thing. I think I was so hot to get into 40K that I just devoured a lot of books, and a lot of books on tactics, and watched a lot of videos, and looked at a lot of units, and read a lot of rules, and watched a lot of battle reports, and then read a lot of rules, and watched a lot more battle reports. And, you know, people will talk to me about armies that, you don't even play those guys. Yeah, but I've read a lot about them because I've been thinking about them. And I was thinking about this army. I was thinking about that army. Yeah, the problem is, Commodore, I bought the Codex specifically just so I know what to call these guys. Because holy crap, let me tell you, if you think telling all the different names of the freaking Primaris Marines are complicated, holy crap, imagine an army where every single unit has a name like that. There's the Evocators and the Justicars and the Judicators and the Prosecutors and the Decimators and the I am just like, oh my god, how do you tell these units apart? I'm sitting here looking at my figures like I don't know what these guys are. And the tomators, yeah. I mean, they are. They're just like, what in the hell are these guys? And maybe after playing them a few times, I'll know which is which. But right now, I'm like, shiny dude with hammer. This one. Oh, that's a liberator. How do I tell? Because I looked it up. I'm going to need picture references. I'm going to sit there with flashcards to know what my... Yeah, because you can't trademark. You can't trademark sword man, sword dude. It's hilarious, man. I'm sitting here trying to figure these things out, going, they just ran out of... They just went in the adjective thing. Let's just look up the word justice and see how many adjectives and synonyms that thing has and put an or on the end of it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have some of the War Scroll cards. I gotta look in the box because I have no idea what I'm looking at. I mean, seriously, Ben, when I was trying to put together a list, I literally had to pull up their website going, what's the Justicars? Oh, that's these guys. These guys are Justicars. Okay, Justicars. I have some of those. What are these guys called? Prosecutors. Okay, I want these guys. Why? Because they're the coolest looking figures in the list. All right, Heinrich, you take well, my buddy. Be well. Medieval Marines. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, like I said, I love these guys. I really do. I love the way they look. I think I got to hit some of them with a little bit more of a matte varnish because they're a little too shiny. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I've got... where are you at? Crap. Ugh. Boxes. Like this guy, he's cool looking. I have no idea what he is. I don't even know what he's called. But he's just cool looking. And then I have the crossbow guys from hell that have these gigantic, super long crossbows, and they get birds. The crossbow dudes with birds. Sorry, my purple bird is stuck on my orange bird dog. I mean, they're just really pretty figures. I do like them. They're just, but you could have a gun at my head and I couldn't tell you what these guys are called. I have no idea. They're the big crossbow dudes. Yes. I think he's called an Aetherhawk, but I would also accept bird. And just, Burb. But then, like I said, my favorite figures, my I got to tell you, the figures that sold me on wanting this army more than anything else. Burb. I mean, look at these guys. It's a paladin with angel wings. You know? I mean, that's just a gorgeous looking figure. And then Angry Girl with 2 X's. She's a hero. I know that. And the main reason I know that is because one of the coolest things I've seen is guys convert her into a space wolf lord. They basically put the wolf backpack on her, put a frost axe in this hand, and then put a shield from the Wolfen box on that front hand and turn her into a space wolf lord. And I think that's really cool. So, like, I know this here, this box, with the 3 Angely dudes and 5 dudes with crossbow, pistols, and axes, and then 5 dudes, Justicars. These guys are, I've got 5 dudes with hammers and shields, and then a ballista with 2 dudes. And that is this is, and like I said, Angry Chick and the 3 birdie guys. This is a 500-point army. Prosecutor. I had to look this one up. It's a prosecutor. So, yeah, I mean, being able to tell these guys apart is probably the hardest part of dealing with them. Oh, and I think this dude with the crossbow, he goes with 2 special dudes. These guys are like a special unit. That's just the 3 of them because he's kind of a named guy. So yeah, it's a weird little army because I have no idea what anything is. But I have a lot of crossbows and a lot of guys with hammers. So it's got to be good. Right? Crossbows and hammers, they go good together, right? Like I said, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at half the time with them, and I think that's going to be the fun of trying to learn Age of Sigmar because they're so over the top. That's the other thing. I really think that's the other thing about the whole thing with Age of Sigmar is it's just so, yeah, it's like you 40K. That's the whole thing. These guys are so over the top. I mean, every single one of these guys is gigantic. They're all on 40mm bases. So every single one of these guys is like 8 feet tall and in giant, armored helm armor. So I think it'll be fine. So terrain news. Let's talk about some more positivity. Let's keep things positive. Because Kaiser is right. I always get the kind of a place on things. Those of you in the States that were on the Rampart Kickstarter, starting yesterday, they started shipping to the US. And they're doing, anybody who got in the Kickstarter in Australia, your shipment is coming next week because they're sending all the Australian shipments on the same day. They got an approval to send everything to Australia in one big burst. So everything to Australia is going to come one day next week. But they're sending out American shipments, started yesterday. And they're saying it's going to take about a month to get them all out because they can only send X number of kilos a day. And it ends up working out to being about anywhere between 60 to 80 units a day. Because, like I said, they have weight restrictions. And that ends up working out to be a month to get everybody out. So I know I've backed that Kickstarter. I believe Commodore backed that Kickstarter. I know a couple other people did. It was a really good Kickstarter. It's just this huge thing of reconfigurable terrain. You say that, my friend, and boy, oh boy, do I have an answer for you. Because I love Hero Quest. I absolutely love Hero Quest. I had a complete set with both the Lair of the Witch King and one of the other expansion sets. I had them up until we had a flood in 2009 or 2010. We had a flood here in Wisconsin. It was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable. It's the only flood. I mean, in my lifetime, there have only been 3 floods in the city proper that I can think of. And this was one of them. And it was bad. And I lost all my Hero Quest stuff. And I was really sad about it. And then I found a website. And they have the entire old set scanned 100%. The books, the cards, the rules, everything scanned. So you can get all the books, all the rules, all the spells, all the treasure, everything. You can get the entire thing for both the base set and like 6 or 7 of the expansion packs, all there. And I'm like, that's great. But I didn't need the board. And then I found they have in there a listing of the board, an exact map of the board. So you could build the board out of a single sheet of foam. Like, but what are you going to do about all those figures? Aha. I have a 3D printer. And the entirety of the figures I found on Thingiverse. The doors, open and closed, the treasure pile, all of the furniture, all of the monster. No, I'm actually working with them right now to get it shipped back to them because it's not working. It's not working. They're replacing it. So, but that being said, the original Hero Quest is not that complicated a game. You can download the PDFs to print all that stuff out yourself, take a piece of pink board and carve up, or even a piece of card, take a piece of corrugated cardboard and draw a 1-inch grid on that thing and just put markers on where the rooms are because it's the same grid every time. And you just put the doors down. And you use figures. And the game is a fun game. If you've never played Hero Quest, it is a freaking fun game. I'm planning on, once I get this thing back up, get the new one and get it up and going. Actually, the first project I'm doing is I've got it all saved up. I'm printing the entirety of the HeroQuest set so that I can actually box it up and have HeroQuest to play. I just need a few players nearby, potentially, to film playing HeroQuest. I don't know who would be interested. But I think with as fun as HeroQuest is, and considering how short the single sessions are, it's like a half hour to an hour game with 4 people playing. I think we're going to have some fun playing that, and I think we're going to have some fun filming that. And it's just a great, fun game. So, big brain time. This is the kind of thing that 3D printers and Internet Archives are built for. The fact that they want $150 for a box set of figures, and they're not even the original figures, because GW will not release the IP for them to print the original figures. So it doesn't even have the charm that the original game had. But those 3D printed figures I actually have are duplicates of those original figures. So that old 1980s, aesthetic GW fantasy figures. It looks like a hell of a lot of fun. Plus, I think I found like a half dozen of the figures down here. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that's one of the next big projects once this stupid printer is fixed. Kickstarter's a great thing. I jumped in on that Rampart Terrain because I'd actually been looking at them earlier and thinking about it. And so when they did Kickstarter just so they can kick off their new set, and at the same time you could buy the older sets, it just had a huge discount. I just bought 2 full sets. So I don't know about buying Kickstarter figure sets. I've seen a lot of, like, Reaper does every year. They do like a big Kickstarter, and you can get like a gigantic box of all these new figures. I don't need random figures. Holy crap, I have boxes of random figures. If I want figures, I want specific figures, Random figures don't do me a lot of good. So if you got a 3D printer, I'm going to tell you right now, Patreon is a really great way to get some really good figures to print and paint for different kinds of games. I'm a member of the Artisans Guild, and I give them money every month, and they give me really great figures. I'm trying to think of there's another group that does, I think they're area something, like, they're not Area 51, but they're area something wrong. I'll get the name and put it down below. But they do cyberpunk. They do cyberpunk figures, and a group of friends I have that play want to actually run a Shadowrun game. That's pretty cool. And that's the thing. I like about Kickstarter, because with the reality that it is to cost, the reality that it is and the cost it is to get a game up and running in today's market, with a saturated market like it is now. It's not like it was back in the 80s and the early 90s when indie games could just kind of throw something out there in a plastic bag and people would buy two 6-sided dice to play that game. And they were great because they were cheap and simple. But nobody does it anymore. Everybody wants more and more figures and more stuff. And yeah, some of the stuff that comes out is really great. I mean, one of my favorite games came out as a Kickstarter, and that'd be Zombicide. The problem is, I think some gaming companies lean too heavily on Kickstarter, and they're selling unproven ideas. I also think there are some people that, how do I put this? There are some people that want to produce large numbers of STLs for printable minis, and they're doing it on Kickstarter, and I really don't think that's the way to go, in my opinion. I think the whole Patreon $10 a month, and you get 6 figures or 8 figures, and for every 3 months that you're a member in a row, you get different figures every month, and for every 3 months in a row, you get one big figure, something like that. That's what Artisan Field does, and there's a couple other people that do that. Valhalla Minis does that. That area one, I cannot think of the name of it. The one that does the Cyberpunk minis, they do that. Like the one I was looking to join them just as 1 month came up, and I actually still might. They were doing like police. They were doing like armored police 1 month, then they had just gotten done samurai gangers, and then they were advertising for the next month that they're doing. I want to say they were doing corporate security, and if you'd been a member for all 3 months, you would get like this War Walker looking thing. So. Absolutely, Kaiser. I think that's the big thing. I think that's been a big thing with Warhammer. And again, it's kind of the funny thing. I got into the Warhammer in 92, 93, when the second edition box set dropped. So that was 92, 93. And I played second edition rules. And I basically played for close to 10 years. And I played second edition rules and third edition rules, which were just second edition with a couple add-ons. The third edition was not like a revamp of the rules. It was basically we're just tweaking a couple rules here and we're keeping it going. And then fourth edition rules was what was just coming up to bear when I stopped playing. And fourth edition, there were some changes, but it wasn't. The big thing that was a difference between fourth edition and third edition was that they were differentiating between armies having different names for things. Like my original orcs, they had pistols and choppas. You know, they had bolters. They weren't called shooters. They were called shooter boys, but they had They had guns. So they would have the name and they would have what the gun was underneath there. And they were basically saying, yeah, this is a melta. Yeah, this is a rocket launcher. Yeah, this is a flamer. Yeah, this is a bolt gun. And they had the exact same weapons. I remember seeing one of the very first things when the town came out was that they had different names for the guns, and that spread across. Even though some of the game names were the same type of weapon, they were different, and they did that for everybody. Suddenly, everybody had different names for all their guns. Even if it was the exact same profile, it was a different gun. And then even over years, that's even become more and more distant. But that was 10 years under 3 rule sets, basically 2 rule sets. The third one was I was not playing as much. I've been in the game now for 2 years, but now a year and a half, almost 2 years. We're on our second rule set. The reason I got in when I did was because I had been looking at 7th, and I couldn't fathom 7th. There were so complicated rules with all the additional complexity. It had all the stuff from 3rd and 4th and 5th in there, and everything had been complex. And I couldn't wrap my brain around them. And then 8th was like, hi, we're going to dumb everything down and start over. And that made sense to me because I'm an old man and stupid. And 8th was great. And I understand why they changed it up. And they didn't change the rules that much. But now it's like the little tweaks on each of the individual figures. And the problem is that you're exactly right. Hero Quest is the original. It's still the same 40K system. It's movement, it's strength, it's toughness, it's weapon skill, it's ballistic skill. It's all that. It's all that same stuff you've seen in every version of Warhammer since the beginning. But they did 7 or 8 expansions for that game. They never changed the rules. Nothing changed in how the game was played. It's just they presented, these are new bad guys, and these are their abilities. But their abilities are still the same. They might have magic, and they go back to the original game. Here's the magic that came in the game. These are the spells they have. Here's the new bad guys. Here's their cards. These are their stats. But in the end, it's the same rules, and they never changed those rules. And Hero Quest was around for a while. I mean, Hero Quest came out in 89, I think it was. I think it was 89 it came out. I was playing Hero Quest with my 7-year-old. He was 7 at the time. So we were playing Hero Quest 20... Oh, no, it would have been 18 years later. 20 years after it came out, we were playing it, and I remembered it because the rules had never changed because they didn't need to. It was a simple board game system, but it was a war game, but it was simple. I understand that a role-playing game and a war game, they have to update the rules every once in a while. They have to print new books because that's how they make money. They print new models, they print new books. That's how they make money. I remember how many people freaked out when D&D 3rd edition came out. Oh, this isn't like D&D at all, blah, 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 blah. I played D&D 1st and 2nd edition. I thought it was great. And once people got used to it, everything was fine. And then 3.5 came out, and then they had to release all the new books in 3.5, and that was only like 3 or 4 years later. Okay. And then a couple years later, 4th edition came out. Now, 4th edition, they completely changed the rules. It was a completely different game. You couldn't really use anything from before except for like base figures because nothing worked the same way. It was a completely different game. And everybody's complaining. And the problem is that TSR made it clear, or I should say, which is the Coast, because they owned it at that time, made it perfectly clear 4th edition was a temporary edition, that 5th was already being worked on. 4th was just brand new being sold, and they were already talking about building 5th edition. That turned a lot of people off to begin with. Plus, they changed the mechanics radically. And 5th edition finally came out, and it's radically different on some things that I would have never thought about. Some of the same things, some of the same core things are there. You know, the same stats, they have the same bonuses. You still roll D20, look on a chart, blah, 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 blah. That's all the same. But now, you know, you can only have X many of these items, magic items. Some can be bound, some can be unbound. You only have X number of magic items that are bound on you at a time. If you have a bound item and you hand it to somebody else, it takes so many hours for them to be able to use it, blah, 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 blah. It was just like, wow. So all these books for 2nd edition and 3rd edition behind me, they're just junk to 5th edition. And I was like, that really sucks. Okay. That's cool. And that's the thing. They're, you know, these books back here, they're kind of junk because I can't use them with the newest edition. I could just go back and play 3rd edition. And that's what a lot of people say, well, let's go back and play the older edition. I did that. And one of the things that you forget about, and this is where nostalgia takes in, it was really great because of the memories you had playing it were fun. There are problems in older editions of games, and that's the other reason they have to update them. people were complaining in 8th edition Warhammer 40K, the melee armies were dead, Tau were too powerful, and shooty armors ruled the game. Now melee is pretty freaking powerful. I think shooty armies still have a place. I think shooting is still good with the right army. But, you know, it's a different game. It's a very different game. And 9th edition and the way you play it is very different than the way you play 8th. So, I enjoyed 8th edition. I look forward to 9th. I just kind of grr about where it is right now because of the way everything's going on. So we're going to play Age of Sigmar, at least for a month or two. So we're going to wrap up for the evening. Everything is great, Mini Warmut. Everything is wonderful. Good to see you, buddy. We're actually wrapping up for the night. It is 9 o'clock. It's actually after 9 o'clock. And I got to get up early in the morning to drive an hour and a half away from work. That's the thing I don't like about this job. So, final thoughts. Games change. There are some games that don't, and we should enjoy those for as long as we can. But there are other games that change, and we should try and enjoy the most we can out of them and not gripe about them for an hour and a half like I just did. I love you guys so much. I really do. I appreciate you being my sounding board. I appreciate you being the voices of reason and giving me those counterpoints. Because remember, this live stream is not just me chatting at you. It is me having a conversation with other people and wanting to hear what you have to say. And I really do enjoy it when you all comment back. So, why don't y'all, if you can, smash that like button. If you don't have it, ring that bell so you know when I'm going to be back. There should be up either a tutorial this weekend, hopefully if I can get this thing done, or we'll do I'll do it live because people have been complaining that we have not been doing enough of those. Zane, talk to me on Discord about that. That'd be great. As always, I am in Discord pretty much anytime I'm not live, even if you're not a Patreon member, there is a base level of Discord that you're more than happy to come in. Just hit me up. Let me know you want in. And I am Gamecraft Dragon. You can hit me at adrian.drake@gmail.com and I'll get you an invite into my Discord so that we can hang out and talk some more because we have some great conversations in there as well. That being said, I've got a Instagram, which you may have seen recently. I just painted up some new Space Wolf stuff. Painted up that old Bjorn, that old big metal Bjorn. God, I could kill somebody with him. And, you know, absolutely, Kaiser, I like complaining because I'm an old, grumpy man, but I actually got it pretty good. I got a beautiful wife. I got rid of one of my kids, so that's half of my problem gone. I have a job. I have my health. I have enough to eat. Fat man's got to eat. So, and I have a lot of figures to paint, so I'm not bored. And I have some of the best friends in the world. And that includes everybody in that chat right now, because you all are friends to me. So, Kaiser, Warmut, Zane, Phoenix, Commodore, Ben, Tina, and who else is still in here? Zidane. Almost miss you there, Zidane. Greg. I know Heinrich already left, but anyways, anyone else who's still in there, you guys are my friends, and I care about you, and I want to see the best for all of you, and I want you to enjoy your hobby. Remember, guys, it is just a game. It is meant to be fun. It's fun, guys. It's a game. Don't let it get up in your head. Don't be Big D. Don't let it get up in your head. Enjoy it and play it. So much love from me to you. Epic your board and epic your table. And remember, epic your life. Thank you so much for being with us today. hit that like button, and we will see you very soon.